There is a very simple way to disprove 1914. I don't know how I missed it before. It's so obvious. You don't have to get into long scriptural discussions. You don't have to worry about the validity of 607 BCE or whether Daniel chapter 4 has a secondary fulfillment. None of that matters. There is only one thing you need to examine to prove that Jesus' so-called invisible presence never happened in 1914 and that the last days did not start then. It's been there in front of us the whole time. Here it is. Truly I say to you that this generation will by no means pass away until all these things happen. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Matthew 24, 34 and 35, New World Translation. All through my life, from infancy onward, I took reassurance from those prophetic words of Jesus because I was taught that they referred to 1914. Here, let me show you just one of hundreds of examples from the pages of the Watchtower publications. This generation will by no means pass away. Besides knowing when the time period for divine judgment would come, Jesus was able to put a limit on its length. Truly I say to you that this generation will by no means pass away until all these things occur. Thus, judgment would be executed sometime during the lifespan of people seeing the first evidence of the time period foretold by Jesus. The start of this time period would mark the beginning of the end for Satan's world, against which God's newly established kingdom in heaven would execute divine judgment. Bible chronology and the fulfillment of Bible prophecy provide ample proof that this time period began in 1914. Thus, before the 1914 generation completely dies out, God's judgment must be executed. This generation still exists in goodly numbers. For example, in 1980, there were still 1,597,700 persons alive in the Federal Republic of Germany who were born in 1900 or before. May 1st, 1985, Watchtower, page 4. I was born in 1949, so I wasn't part of this generation. But there were people in my congregation in 1985 who were part of it. But they've all died. Anyone born on or before 1900 would be 125 years old now. How many people do you know who are 125 years old? But how does that disprove 1914? I know that some of you will try to defend this prophetic failure by claiming that it wasn't a prophecy at all. They're just imperfect men and they made a mistake. Come on, cut them some slack. It doesn't mean that the whole 1914 doctrine is wrong, does it? Yeah, it kind of does. Don't take it from me. Here's what Moses wrote under inspiration. If any prophet presumptuously speaks a word in my name that I did not command him to speak, that prophet must die. However, you may say in your heart, how will we know that Jehovah has not spoken the word? When the prophet speaks in the name of Jehovah, and the word is not fulfilled, or does not come true, then Jehovah did not speak that word. The prophet spoke it presumptuously. You should not fear him. Deuteronomy 18:20-22, New World Translation. If you're still intent on defending the governing body, you might argue that the whole generation not passing away before the end is only one small part of the 1914 prophecy. But we're talking about Bible prophecy, and here's something you mustn't overlook. When the nation of Israel was entering the promised land, Joshua gave the people this assurance. You know this in your hearts and souls, all of you, that not one word has failed of all the good things that Jehovah your God promised concerning you. All have come to pass for you. Not one of them has failed. Joshua 23:14 ESV. Not one word of all the good things that God had spoken to them failed to come true. Are we to expect anything less from Jesus, the Son of God? He said that all the things would come to pass within a single generation. So, if 1914 is truly the start of Christ's presence, then Jesus misled us, because the prophecy about this generation not passing away until all these things occur failed to come true. But of course, Jesus didn't mislead us. He has never misled us. But then who did? That would be Russell and Rutherford, Knorr and Franz, and now the current members of the governing body who continue to promote not just 1914, but this generation. Based on what we read in Deuteronomy, that makes them false prophets. Oh, they'll say that they've never called themselves false prophets. Does Deuteronomy say that if the prophet claims he isn't inspired, that we are to give him a free pass? If a man robs a bank, then gets arrested, do the police let him go because he claims that he never called himself a bank robber? Don't actions speak louder than words? Actually, they have unwittingly admitted to being false prophets. In the November 1st, 1972 Watchtower, we have this. Does this admission of making mistakes stamp them as false prophets? Not at all, for false prophets do not admit to making mistakes. Page 644. False prophets do not admit to making mistakes. Their own words condemn them. When was the last time you heard the governing body say, "We're sorry, we made a mistake"? They've wrecked the lives of millions of followers, leading them on with a false hope, and now that their prediction at the end of the world would come within the generation of 1914, now that that has failed, do you hear so much as a simple apology? No. Instead, they're doing it all over again. From the January 15th, 2014 Watchtower, page 31, paragraphs 15 and 16, we have this. In his detailed prophecy about the conclusion of this system of things, Jesus said, "This generation will by no means pass away until all these things happen." Read Matthew 24, 33 to 35. We understand that in mentioning this generation, Jesus was referring to two groups of anointed Christians. The first group was on hand in 1914, and they readily discerned the sign of Christ's presence in that year. Those who made up this group were not merely alive in 1914, but they were Spirit anointed as sons of God in or before that year. The second group, included in this generation, are anointed contemporaries of the first group. They were not simply alive during the lifetime of those in the first group, but they were anointed with Holy Spirit during the time that those of the first group were still on earth. Thus, not every anointed person today is included in this generation of whom Jesus spoke. Today, those in this second group are themselves advancing in years. Yet Jesus' words at Matthew 24:34 give us confidence that at least some of this generation will by no means pass away before seeing the start of the Great Tribulation. This should add to our conviction that little time remains before the King of God's kingdom acts to destroy the wicked and usher in a righteous new world. In keeping with their definition of a false prophet, they are not admitting their mistake. Instead, they have doubled down on their interpretation by making up an unscriptural, totally bogus definition of what Jesus meant by this generation. How could Jesus have been referring to two distinct generations of anointed? What nonsense! Jesus said this generation. He's talking about a generation that was present at the moment he spoke those words. But there were no anointed yet. The Spirit would not anoint anyone for another 50 days at Pentecost. A liar, when caught in a lie, typically doubles down. He just compounds his lie with more lies trying to save himself. The governing body's assumed power is based on the belief that Jesus returned in 1914, and then in 1919, Jesus chose J.F. Rutherford and friends as his faithful and discreet slave. So there you have it. The Watchtower prediction about the fulfillment of Matthew 24:34, this generation, has failed. That means the 1914 prophecy is false. That makes the governing body out to be false prophets. Please, my brothers and sisters out there, heed the words of God recorded in Deuteronomy. Here, I'll provide them to you from the Peshitta Holy Bible translated with just a little bit of poetic license thrown in. Whenever the governing body speaks in the name of Lord Jehovah and there is no response, and it does not happen, Lord Jehovah did not speak that word. The governing body spoke it in presumption. You shall not revere the governing body. Deuteronomy 18:22. Do not fear them. Do not revere them. They are blind guides, and if you follow them, then as Jesus said, you'll both fall into a pit. Matthew 15:14. I do hope this has proven helpful. If so, subscribe please to this channel and use the bell to get notified of future releases. And thanks to all of you who help me continue this work through your donations.